Hello, everyone. Wait a minute. Nope, we're not there.
Live streaming is on.
Hello, everyone. It says live streaming is on, so I'm going to take its word for it. Welcome to the MuseScore Café for today, June 10th, 2020. My name is Marc Sabatella. I'm the Director of Education for MuseScore. And yeah, there we go. Okay. And so I'm Marc Sabatella, Director of Education. And this is my weekly series of these live streams that I do to talk about some aspect of MuseScore. And my guest today, as I have mentioned before, is going to be Sergios. And I've never actually thought about how to say your full name. So in a moment, I'm going to have you introduce yourself. But let me just say a couple other things before that. What was I going to say? Oh, yes. So we're going to talk about Sergios' project today for Google Summer of Code and talk a little more about just Google Summer of Code in general, following up on last week. I also want to let you know that tomorrow, if all goes as planned, and at this point, I don't see things getting in the way, tomorrow we will release the beta for MuseScore 3.5. So next week's Cafe, that's what I'm going to be showing. Normally, between an alpha and a beta, you wouldn't expect a lot of new features, but we actually added quite a lot of, small but useful things. So I'll have a lot of stuff to show you next week. And then the week after that, we're going to resume with the last of the three Google Summer of Code projects, and we'll bring Isaac in 2 weeks to talk about his project, which has to do with multi-measure rests. Okay. So I've already posted the link to Sergios' blog, so you can get some idea of what his project is by reading about it. But now I'm going to say, yeah, come on, unmute, whatever, introduce yourself, say hi, blah, blah, blah.
Let me put everything to not disturb us. Greetings. My name is Sergios Anestis Kefalidis. I am the second Google Summer of Code student that you meet this year. And that's it. I am from Greece.
So I wanted to ask you, I talked about the Google Summer of Code project, the whole program in general last week. So anyone who watched that knows the general gist of it. I'll give just the briefest summary right now for anyone who didn't see last week. It's an annual program where Google sponsors college students to work on open source software. And MuseScore has participated in this, 8 or 9 times. I've lost count. It's a really nice project because Google basically pays the student to work on open source software, and then they also give a small stipend to a mentor on the open source project who can work with that student to make sure that they learn everything they need to do and get all the processes down. So it's a way of sort of increasing participation in open source software. And so we've always been really fortunate and got a lot of really good features and things got done from the students participating, and this year is shaping up to be no exception. So what I'd like, if you could tell us now, Sergios, in which, again, I'm just saying it in my English accent sort of way, American accent way, how you became involved, how you found out about Google Summer of Code, how you found out about MuseScore, what made you choose to submit a proposal to MuseScore, and then we'll talk about your specific proposal.
All right, so let me tackle these questions in chronological order. So, MuseScore. I learned about MuseScore 7 or 8 years ago. I started playing the piano when I was 10 to 11. So after 3 years from that, 2 or 3 years, my sister showed me this program where you could just write music sheets. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is how people write music. So she was playing around with that program. I was like, okay, that's cool. Needless to say that since my sister did that, I also played around with the program. So I started messing around with MuseScore, creating some horrible compositions. Of course, for the piano, because this is what I could also play on the actual piano. Yes, and after getting accustomed with MuseScore a little bit, like getting to know how to enter notes, nothing more than that, I also did some other things, like make some games, make animated films, and I was like, these things need music, so let's create something for that. So even though I didn't use MuseScore just for the sake of using MuseScore and creating music, I used it a lot to create music for other things that I did. So MuseScore was kind of always installed in my PC. So after that, what was it? Oh, Google Summer of Code. So I learned about Google Summer of Code last year, which was my first year at the University of Athens. The last year, Google accepted an organization which is like FOSS Greece. It's like the free and open source software for Greece organization. So they accepted that organization, and as you might expect, they sent emails to every Greek university, like, we are there, we need students. If you're interested, come. And I saw that way too late, because as a junior, as a greenhorn, as you would say in the Wild West, I wasn't really accustomed to reading all the notifications and announcements of the university. And that's not totally my fault, because our email service is horrible. It needs like 30 seconds to load an email, so it's not totally my fault. So I went there, I saw that, I was like, wow, this is impressive. And then I started seeing and looking and to see what kind of qualifications are required for Google Summer of Code. And I was like, I don't know any of these words. I know nothing. I was amazed and shocked. I was like, are there people that know this kind of stuff? Like, wow, that's impressive. And after that, I said, well, this is a challenge for me. And I accept that challenge. And I said, let's try to join that next year. So I started learning various things, various programming languages, various technologies, looking through projects, through open source projects. It was a very informative and learning experience. So here comes February, where they announce the projects, the organizations, right? It's like February. Yeah. So come February, I log in. Oh, we also had a student who last year took part in Google Summer of Code. He also did a presentation for that. He was like, this is it, that thing, but yeah. But I learned before that last year. So the time comes to see through the organizations, look through them for an interesting project. Very big names, then organizations that I know of. I'm not saying that MuseScore isn't a big name. I will come to that. I will go. It was like the GNOME Foundation, the KD project, LLVM, Lua, all these various very impressive things. And I was like, well, these are way outside of my experience, because you need some very specific kind of knowledge to work on those. And I was looking through things and was like, this seems interesting, this seems interesting. And I was kind of disappointed, though, at the first day. I didn't find anything that excited me. They were interesting things because I like programming and computer science, but they were not very exciting. The very exciting projects I didn't think that I could be a part of. So next day, I scroll through their page again, and I see MuseScore. And I'm like, wow, this is a program that I use, and it says that it needs things that I know. Let's go there. So I go on and read the projects and read the steps towards a successful application and all those nice things that you've made. I'm like, well, it's time to create a Telegram account. I create a Telegram account, and I see that it only requires one phone number and nothing else. I was amazed by that. And here comes my first contact with the community. And this is the reason why I chose this project. Because MuseScore is nice, but the community is nicer. So I go in there, I scroll through various messages, and I was like, wow, how can they communicate? Like, this is a public chat where everybody's writing stuff. How can they communicate through that? But I was just lurking around for a couple of weeks, and I was like, well, it's time to try to do something for this project, try to help MuseScore in some way, because I didn't mention that. I've been using open source software to create various things, as I've said before, games, animated movies, compositions. So I was like, it's time to give something back, even if they don't accept me, I can at least try something. So I start my first pull request. Needless to say that even though I knew how to use Git a little bit, knowing how to use Git a little bit and knowing how to use Git to be part of an open source project is a huge difference, worlds apart. So I start this and everything was unknown. I open the project, it doesn't compile. Of course, why would it compile? It didn't compile because I missed the line. I didn't read everything correctly. So yeah, I spent like 3 days trying to make that compile. I make it. I was like, yes, this is my time. Now it's on. And I start seeing the code. First of all, I want to, if your audience doesn't know it yet, finally MuseScore has a beautiful code style instead of this weird code style that it had, let's say. So I opened it and I see all this that weird code style and those huge classes, and I was like, wow, you need to be amazing to work at real software. But I keep trying, and I make my small first pull request, which was about, it hasn't been merged yet, by the way, which is about, and I believe it is giving colors to instrument names. Because you can give various colors to the stuff, but you couldn't give them to instrument names. So it's an easy pull request, as you probably guess. So I make that, and I fight with Git a bit. I create a pull request, and I'm waiting for review very anxiously in front of my screen. And then Joachim is the first person that writes something. And I was impressed because it was pretty nice. He was like, you have done 100 different wrong things in the code style. Like, if you see the first pull request, it's like 200 comments where he's just correcting me. Like, this is not, that's not it, that's not it. No, you did again wrong. No, 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 no. But I was like, wow, he's responding immediately and he's so patient right now. Amazing. So after getting to know Joachim, then I see that everybody is nice. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be very fun. So I started contributing more and feeling pretty confident about my knowledge of the software and pretty excited to work with you all. So I was like, yeah, let's write down the proposal. And writing down the proposal was, let's say, both exciting and very frustrating, because even though I've used MuseScore for years, I wasn't a power user, so I didn't really know what everything meant. So I was like, well, this seems interesting, the album's proposal. This seems also interesting, the one about the various post-it notes. And I was like, I'll make 2 proposals and let's see what flies. But as the time went by, as I was writing the proposal, I was like, oh, I understand what they want. What could be nice? What could be useful? So I write down my proposal. I felt confident about it.
Oh, your audio cut out for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, great. That's my story, pretty much.
All right, wonderful. That's a hell of a story. Thank you so much for sharing all that. That was great. Yeah, it's a good transition to now talking about the project itself. But I should just mention that during that period, the way the program works is anyone who's interested in participating, you go through. It's like month-long audition, essentially, that happens where the students are all submitting these pull requests, which basically means they've fixed a bug, they've implemented some feature, and they are requesting that we merge it into the main program, so it'll be part of the next release. And so everyone is submitting their own pull requests and, asking questions about how the code works, talking about, what they might want to do in their proposals and all. And yeah, I think I don't have any stats on this, but you probably set a record for the most pull requests submitted during that period. It was an impressive number, not just the number of the pull requests, but the sort of the quality of them, the value of them, and so forth. So it was definitely a lot of really good stuff. And so yeah, I'm looking at the one that you were mentioning that isn't merged yet. And I guess at this point now there's a whole bunch of conflicts that would need to be fixed to get it in. But yeah, there's any number of the things that you did implement that are going to be in 3.5 already. And so we'll get to show some of those next week when I show off the beta. If there's anything in particular that you're particularly happy about that you've already implemented that's in, feel free to show that to us today. But so that people understand how this is going to work, MuseScore 3.5 is going to come out. Well, the beta is going to come out next week. And then there'll be a few weeks of testing, and we hope people install it and test it. And then there'll be what's called a release candidate, where we think, okay, this is it, unless there's anything really bad, broken. And then, people test that for a little bit, and then we either release that release candidate or we fix the one or two really bad things that are discovered. And then that's MuseScore 3.5. So that's all happening within the next month or so. Meanwhile, MuseScore 4 is in development. So when Sergios mentioned that there's a new code style, like the way the actual code looks has been changed, that's one of the changes that's happening for MuseScore 4 that doesn't affect anything else. But there's going to be a lot of really big, sort of really exciting changes in how MuseScore works with respect to sound and playback. And a lot of things about the user interface are going to be cleaned up now that we have Martin, aka Tantacruel, working on design for us. So there's going to be a lot of fairly big changes for MuseScore 4, and pretty much all of the Summer of Code projects are being targeted for MuseScore 4. Now, we don't have a date for that, but we're not talking about like at the end of the summer. It's going to be further out than that. So all the work that we're talking about now is something that you will be seeing the work itself will be done by the end of the summer, but it probably won't be part of MuseScore until MuseScore 4 comes out, which will be quite a bit later. Sometime the next week or two, we'll be announcing more about plans for MuseScore 4, so you'll get to hear about that also. Okay, so the albums project that you're working on here, for people who don't know, albums was a feature that was in MuseScore 2, and it was one of the only things that was then missing when we went to MuseScore 3. MuseScore 3 added a whole lot of things, but it changed a bunch of things, and there was a few things that sort of didn't get carried over. And there were several when MuseScore 3 first came out, but we've fixed all the other ones. And so at this point, pretty much the only feature from MuseScore 2 that's missing is the albums feature, which allowed you to have one score that had like a whole, like if you are creating a songbook, that's the classic example. So you have a bunch of short songs and you want to create a songbook that basically combines them all into one big score. And so that was a feature. It was kind of awkward how it worked in MuseScore 2, but it was there. People relied on it, and it's been gone now for the last year and a half. So we're really excited at the possibility of getting it back, but it's not just going to come back, it looks like the way it was before, but better. So you've got some stuff actually working, and we'd love to see what you've got so far and hear you talk about what the plans are here.
So it's time to show you my baby, basically.
Yes.
No, so let me see if the share screen works correctly. Share your screen, please. Oh, no. Let's refresh.
It worked fine in
it's going to be worth it. Don't it's going to be worth it.
I agree.
Okay, I can see that. Okay, now I want to share this. I want to share my entire screen, and we are set. So
yes,
I have prepared 2 builds to show you. this means two different versions of the software. One is the latest, which crashes if you look at it wrong. It's incredibly prone to crashing. You can literally just click to the wrong place and boom.
Mhm.
And I have the safe version, which is a bit better than that. We can also see ourselves through the see-through terminal. So let's open one of them. No, why? Let's do it like this, I guess. Great. So the albums feature. From where to start? I haven't written all this down. Okay, so first of all, Marc said that a lot of people relied on this feature, and it was used for creating albums, symphonies, maybe, or something like that. Generally, collections of exercises or songs or movements or anything. So one important thing is that there will be backwards compatibility, which means that if you created something in MuseScore 2, you can also just open it in MuseScore, whatever number this comes out in, which is a big plus, and it isn't probably too difficult to keep. I can already show you importing some old albums. So let me reorder this. You can see this clearly, I guess. Yeah. So let's open one album.
Yeah.
And the moment of truth. So as you can see, we have a new file type, .msca. Of course, everything that you see isn't final. We might rename this to .MuseScore is the most amazing software album. Or something. And as you can already, do I have an old album here? I don't have an old album. It's okay. So .msca, but you can also see the old albums which are called .album. The reason why the new albums don't have that file extension is because .album could be a photo album, could be anything that is an album, basically. So .msca is more specific. Let's open this. And here we are. This is the album manager, our new window, which controls everything. And it automatically opened the scores in this album. So, as you can see on the right, there are two modes of operation, album mode and score mode. Oh, also because everything is work in progress, I would really appreciate questions, suggestions, because the earlier I tackle problems, the better. Creating something and then having to change that is more difficult than creating something solid from the beginning. So, score mode is this mode that we have enabled right here, where each score, I can double-click a score and change to that, and you see only one score at a time. So you're basically using MuseScore as you would normally, but you can change quickly through scores. You can see the duration of your album. You can enable and disable scores. You can, of course, play your album. You can add new scores. You can add an existing score or add a new score. I'm not clicking these buttons because they might crash. We will click everything, but after I've shown you the basics. You can remove a score, and delete score is a remnant from the prototype of the album manager because there was some code for the album manager which was disabled. I don't know if I will keep it. I will probably keep it for temporary scores, like you add a new score, which is not in the disk already, but you don't want it before saving it, so you could delete it with one simple click or something like that. I don't know. It might be useless. And of course, you can reorder scores. And yeah. So let's play the album, and we have amazing technology to do that. I will move my microphone near the speakers.
Yes.
And let's try.
Nice.
Yeah, that cursor bug, I don't know what about. Oh, Jitsi is saying that my microphone is noisy. I'm sorry. So
that sounded fine.
Okay.
Great.
Oh, everything fixed. So why did we skip the middle score? Because I have disabled the middle score. If I do this again, it will play everything. Why did you do this to me? This is probably because I didn't delete some code that I should have. Now, as you can see, I'm playing every score. I haven't yet made the button to stop the playback, so we will go through the whole thing. I should have made this smaller, but yeah. So I will show you what reordering does. You know what reordering would do. Let's see if there is anything else at this surface level.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If like I was thinking, oh well, if you want to build a play all 3 scores but have it go faster, you could put a tempo marking. If you put a tempo marking on the first score, is it going to affect the other 2 also?
No, it won't, because it scores its own thing. Right?
Yeah,
that would be a good idea for the album mode, but I wouldn't think so. It wouldn't make too much sense to me. It's a different movement, so we should probably do a different thing. Also, you might have noticed that there was a delay between playing songs. This is to simulate the effect that you hear when playing an CD. We don't have CDs anymore, but playing any album like through Spotify or something, there's a small delay between playback. Normally, what I will do in the end, as Isaac and Joachim suggested, is have basically breaks at the end, like these breaks, which have a duration. Oh no, I didn't want to do that. I'm sorry. Which have a duration, and you can change that. For now, and in the future, there is also this slider where you can set the default duration for every score. But you will also be able to fine-tune the difference between each score. So this will essentially be the settings for this album. There will be also a preferences window where you store the default settings, and you will also be able to customize the setting for your album. So after all that, also if I like to demonstrate, if I put this here, and let's disable that one, and again, while I'm looking, I have a feeling that, oh yes, this is the latest build. This is not the safe build. That's why all this happens. Because this is not my good build. So let's.
Before you go on, a question from Isaac here on the chat, who's asking about the why not just use the play button on the toolbar? And I assume if you're in score mode, the play button on the toolbar will stop at the end of that score. But in album mode, I would sort of think that the regular play button would just play all of them. Is that true?
Yes, we have 2 ideas. Either what you described, or there will be an option to override the controls. So you click a checkbox here, and play becomes play the entire album. Rewind to start position means rewind to the start of the album, and so on.
Great.
Well, let's look at my notes. Yes, of course. Okay. The expected functionality, you can of course save your album and it remembers where you saved it and stuff like that. Small stuff, but somebody needs to code them, of course. Double click. Oh yes, so as you can see in score mode, double clicking takes me to that score, which could be useful when you have a lot of scores. Now for 3 scores, you can open them all. You have 200, it's going to be hard. So I was thinking about also having some kind of limit so you don't pollute your workspace, where you like, I want that album to have a maximum of 5 scores open, and it would close the least used of them every time that you open a new one. And also having different colors for the scores that are part of an album. There are various ideas about improving the usability, but what I want to show you is that, what I want to tell you is that in album mode, double clicking would teleport you to the start of that movement. So you have like a big symphony or something that has 3 movements, and you are like, I want to go to the start of the second movement. You won't have to painstakingly go somewhere or use some shortcut, which I don't know. You will just be able to double click and you'll go there. And that's it. So I will talk about that later. Split score, joint scores. Okay, we can try the album mode and see if that explodes. So this is an important moment, everybody. I pressed playback, so this will probably crash. So let me restart for maximum
Okay.
For maximum, not performance, but for maximum, I don't remember the word, and I can't Google Translate it right now.
Yeah.
Well, this is what happens in live streams, I guess. So we have our album, and I'm going to click the button. This should, yeah, everything's on it. Album, voila.
Yes.
So this is our album right now. I also here you write the name of your album, something like Joachim and James are my mentors. So, which I
That's
hope are
different than
working.
the title.
What?
That's different than the title that shows up there on the
Yeah.
score. 'cause
So
I see
normally you should have the name of the album there, but we haven't yet reached that point of polish. But normally you would see here the title of the album. Also, you can see that there is a large gap between the album title and the first score. I haven't yet found a way to minimize that, but I'm sure that I will deal with it.
Yeah.
So in album mode, as you can see, you see every score as one, like one big score. So I can do stuff like, do you work? Yeah. Go here, for example, and go to piano, and it has changed there. Then maybe go here, go back, it has changed there.
Oh.
So you can edit your albums both individually and together, which has some obvious benefits. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could also play this back. Do you want to try your luck? Are you feeling lucky?
Play button on the toolbar if it has any chance of working.
Let's go. What are we listening to?
2.
Yeah, we skipped the first one for some reason.
You probably had that where the cursor was.
Yeah, we skipped the first one, but I will repay you by moving something else. So, also one thing that impressed me is that I could move. Oh, I crashed it. Well, this is it. This doesn't work. I'm sorry. We will also try importing a MuseScore 2 album later to show that I'm not lying about backwards compatibility. Also, I would like to have...
I just wanted to give people a sense of the schedule of this. Basically, the work just started a couple weeks ago. The work continues through August. So it's amazing that it's working as well as it is now, but there's still a couple of months worth of coding to go, and it'll we have every confidence this is going to work great by the end of the summer.
So yeah, I can almost guarantee it. I will never guarantee it because I'm cautious, but I'm very optimistic. So I would also like to have in the Open Recent menu a different subsection, like here are your scores, here are your albums, below the scores or above, something like that. I've started working on that. I haven't yet gotten to work because I tried to fake it, but it didn't work. I need to actually spend time to make this correctly. Let's open one out. Oh, we can also try. Are you the one? No, you're not the one. I'm sorry. So let's add the score first of all. Piano score. Because one limitation of MuseScore 2 was that you couldn't have like different instrumentation in your scores in your album. That was a big thing. So let's save our album. Album save. No, this is the live album. Live album. No. Hello, internet. Save. Okay, now I need to close this and reopen it because everything is a work in progress. And go to latest. And let's see if it will betray me. Go here, go here, go here, go here. Hello, internet. Go to the album mode. And this is a big one. And let's see. promise that I didn't make this huge intentionally. It was just an accident. As you can see, the cursor is not in the correct position because MuseScore doesn't have this functionality yet, but I will add it. It shouldn't be too hard. I've actually made various things with a cursor, so yes, we are getting closer. Getting closer. This is the moment of truth. And on, yeah.
Piano.
So this is already a big improvement from MuseScore 2, I would think. Yes. Also, one advantage of MuseScore 2 of the album feature was, as Joachim told me, I hadn't used that. I never used that in MuseScore 2 because, as I've said, I was a very casual user. Was that it was very efficient. Exporting a PDF was very efficient compared to exporting every score and then just joining them. For two reasons. First of all, if you have 100 songs and you print each one of them, you will hate everything in your life because it will take a while. As you might expect, you will be able to just select which scores you want to print, and you will press the print button and it will print them. And actually, if we press print right now, it might even work because it has no reason not to work. So, and the other advantage is that programs that just merge PDF files, that just join them, that glue them, aren't that great, some of them at least. So the MuseScore 2 album PDF was way smaller than the alternative. So this is also a nice advantage. You would have smaller PDF files. And let's see what else I have. Nah, this is the last thing because I have nothing to show about this one.
Well, also, I mean, it sort of maybe goes without saying, but it does. An album can have multiple songs on a single page like this. You're not going to get that by merging PDFs.
Yeah. What next? Oh, so as you can see right now, essentially what we're doing is almost join different scores. We are not actually joining them because like we have the different titles. It's clearly not one single score. Mm-hmm. So one feature that I want to add, and I believe will be very useful, is the ability to join scores. So like maybe you have like some friends and you decide to write music and then combine your music, and you will be able to just get different scores, press the join score button, which also existed in MuseScore 2, join the scores. So this is existing functionality that's not existing. It was existing functionality, so that's nothing too impressive. But one of the stretch goals of the project, if everything goes well, is also the ability to split scores, create an album from scores.
Oh, wow.
From score. So that could be useful for many reasons. First of all, you just might want to make, I don't know, I'll say about that later. Let me write it down because I need to remember it here. Okay. So one reason for that is that maybe you join your album, and then you realize that this was a terrible idea. And many people don't actually hold backups because why would you hold like 15 different backups for everything? And then you're like, no, I have to do everything again. So in that case, there will be some metafiles, invisible files from the user. When we say hidden files, you can see them, but they're not immediately obvious. Where the album will know, oh, you joined this, that, and that score, which were those measures and those measures and those measures. And now I recreate those scores and I make an album from them. I would also like to have the option for the user to give some tools to split the score. Like you have a huge score and you're like, every time that I change key, there is a different score or something. Stuff like that. But this is a stretch goal of the project. This is not my immediate work, but let's talk about everything. Everything.
Well, yes. A question I would like to ask, when you're showing here that scores can have different instruments, which is great. Especially if you're writing a symphony, it means you can have, one instrument that only comes in for the second movement or whatever, things like that. What about the score style? I remember you having mentioned this in the proposal and in blog, but it would be good to talk about it here. Like, if I decided that just for the Guitar 2 score, we decided we wanted the staff size to be bigger, or it to switch to a different font or something. Are the score styles, because in MuseScore 2, it was, once you joined an album, it was one file. There was no way to have different styles for different scores within the album. Is that going to be possible here?
I can't say that for sure yet because I haven't started working on this.
Okay.
The things that I'm promising right now are things that I'm pretty certain that I will be able to deliver. So this is something that I've thought about. And first of all, it should be possible to at least print different styles. That should be possible because we have the album file and we know what style each score has. Of course, in the score mode, you can have different styles because every score is its own thing. So it should be possible, even if it's not like great code, it should be possible even with the workaround. But having different styles in one score, I'm not sure. Well, if we can print it, we should also be able to have it in one score. But
that's fine.
Yeah, but
as long as you print it, that seems like it would be fine.
Yeah.
Or export PDF at least.
Yeah, I believe that I could do something for that, but I'm not certain. It's still under investigation.
Well, what would happen right now if you did that, other than it would crash?
Yes.
If you tried changing the style of Guitar 1, what would happen? Like if you click the text for Guitar 1, the title text, and then go to the inspector, is the inspector live or is it?
Oh, the inspector is not good in my. It's very slow.
Okay.
For me.
But if you go to say change the text from free serif to something, the set as style buttons aren't there yet, are they? Because this is the new inspector from MuseScore 4.
The new inspector. It's also very slow for me.
Yeah.
Right now it's like it's fast, but it isn't.
Yeah, and so it doesn't currently have all the set as style buttons that used to be there. So there is like an overall set as style button somewhere, I think. I haven't really played with the new inspector enough yet to know how it really.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. That's something to figure out.
I'm just so amazed by that dragging elements doesn't crash because I've been fighting with that for 2 weeks, for 2 days. So I am just moving elements all the time. I'm like, let's move that node. Great. So do you have anything else to ask?
I see something here in the chat. Is there any chance to be able to? Okay, so there's a question here that's probably not really specific to albums, but a question about importing things from other proprietary formats. And well, we do support importing a handful of them that we've managed to reverse engineer or find documentation for. So Guitar Pro can be imported, Band in a Box can be imported, Overture, a couple of others we can import their formats. But some of the big ones like Finale or Sibelius or Dorico, there's like almost no chance that we're ever going to be able to import their formats. They're big, they're complicated, they're not documented. That's very unlikely. However, they can all export to Music XML, and we are quite good at importing Music XML. So as far as creating an album from that, yeah, if you can get it into MuseScore, then once it's into MuseScore, you should be able to make an album from it, I would imagine. Would be kind of interesting to see an album where the individual songs originally came from like 3 different programs. Like, oh, this one came from Sibelius via Music XML. This one came from Overture. This one came from Guitar Pro. That'd be kind of interesting to see as a fun demonstration someday.
Indeed.
I
If you
figure
click in MuseScore, and I've made the tools for splitting and for splitting scores and creating albums from that. I see no reason to not be able to do that.
Yeah. So one
Even
of the
though
things that
XML has some problems.
What? Oh, Music XML?
Yes, we have some problems for that, but they are slowly being solved.
Yeah, I mean, Music XML is a least common denominator format, and it's designed to, be able to be something that all programs can read and write, but then it's like a subset of what every program can do, or there's like stuff in Music XML that not all programs know even how to handle. And so it's sort of an imperfect language. It's sort of like using Google Translate. You can translate something in another language and then translate it back to English or whatever other language you want, and it's not going to be the same as it started. And I would say Music XML is pretty similar, but yeah, Finale, actually, the company that owns Finale owns the Music XML standard. It's an open standard, but they own it. So they are at the forefront of the development of it, and their Music XML implementation is generally the best because they're the first ones to do everything. Realistically, we have as good a claim to be the second best at Music XML as anyone else does, probably. But it's probably a pretty distant gap between Finale and everyone else as a result. Sergios, I want to show you something. I want to share my screen, which I've never tried to do 2 share screens at once here, but why not? We're going to try it. And the reason is I want to just show you and show other people the use that I personally would love to have albums for. So I'm going to see if I can do this and if it's going to do something reasonable.
That was mine. Oh.
All right. It says it's sharing my screen.
It is.
Right. Okay. Well, then we'll see if it shows up on the stream also. Yes, this looks like it. Okay, so I have been assembling what is essentially a textbook full of these kind of handouts that I've made, and they're all fairly like short, like 1 page, or maybe this one's like 2 pages with some wasted space on the bottom here. And I would, right now, when I want to combine all these things, I do it by combining PDFs. I would love to be able to make an album from these. One of the limitations in the MuseScore 2 album feature was that a lot of formatting would be lost when you tried to join scores. And I'm relying on a lot of stuff. You can see I've got text frames here, I've got section breaks, I've got all sorts of stuff going on formatting-wise. And it looks like your implementation is such that these, if I just created an album from these, and even without joining them, just tried to print it, I might get a pretty good result. But this is the kind of stuff that I'm concerned with, whether it would handle all these text frames and all the other funky stuff that I'm doing in here.
Well, one advantage of the implementation right now is that I am not messing with things too much. I'm trying to use as much things as default as possible. So luckily, until right now, nothing is moving, nothing is placed in a place it shouldn't be, because essentially what I'm doing is just taking the other measures, the other systems, and just appending them to one big album, to one big score. So it probably shouldn't mess things up. Okay. What there might be problems with is in the end of the pages, as you might expect, like if this was a bit, if it was a bit larger, we would have on like the piano title, and then in the next page we would have the first stuff. But I've thought about ways to deal with that.
Okay, I'm just sort of curious, and I would probably adapt whatever I do to make it work with albums rather than expect what I do to already work with albums. So I would add page breaks if I needed to. I would do things to get it to work once.
With page breaks, it shouldn't have no problem.
Yeah, because I think that's what I want. I think I would want every little handout to start on a new page anyhow. So I'd probably just add a page break to the end of every handout and call it good.
Yes, in cases such as yours, where you have a lot of scores, even just using it for printing a lot of stuff at the same time, is a huge time saver, I would think.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I don't have any other. I mean, that was a fabulous demonstration. It's great to see all this stuff working and hear about some of the other things that you have planned. I don't really have any other specific questions. Do you have anything else that you'd want to tell us before we say goodbye to folks?
Yes, I have something else to tell you. So,
all right.
One last thing. Yes, one last thing. So, one of the main things that I wanted to do in this project is give the user more power to organize his compositions and like mass edit them and mass use them. So like printing every score together is a huge time saver. It's also a huge time saver if you could just change the style of a bunch of different scores. Like we've said that we don't know. I don't know if I will be able to have different styles. Come on, don't do that to me. If I will be able to have different styles in the album mode, but in the score mode, you will have different styles, as I can already do that. And so you have like 50 different scores, and you're like, I want to change those to that style and these others to that other style. You will also be able to do that. Things like seeing the duration of your album and being able to conform to time limits by just enabling and disabling scores, having the ability to color code those scores in the album manager. So, for example, if you are a teacher and you have a concert of students and you want to know which students play jazz music, which ones play classical music, which ones play rock, so you create a color coding, red, blue, yellow, for those things, so you can better organize things. So essentially, the albums won't allow you only to compose and print scores better, but they will also help you deal with organizational issues.
Nice.
And what else? That's it. Yes, that's. Oh, yeah, and of course, one big one is being able to add instruments to multiple scores at a time, which is also a big time saver. You're like, oh, I need the trumpet because now we have one more friend in our band and we need the trumpet to every score. So we have like 50 different scores, and let's just at least add the trumpet easily. We will see what he plays, but let's at least add the trumpet easily. And I want to focus on on creating a solid foundation so that the thing can be expanded further on. So that's why I'm thinking and I'm talking about all those things, so that even if all those things are not there, I'm sure that there will be more things that people need than the ones that I provide. I want to have a solid foundation so that adding things could be easy. And you talked about, if I'm proud about one of my PRs, my pull request about the preferences, which you will show them next week, I would think. Also, allows us, I won't spoil the surprise, but also allows us to add preferences with one line of code. It's just, everything is automatic almost. For most cases, you just copy, paste, and change one word, which is a huge productivity improvement for the development of MuseScore. And I want to bring that philosophy here too, so that my future self will thank me and my fellow developers. That's it.
All right. Well, that is fantastic. And we'll definitely talk about a number of the things that you've added when I talk about the 3.5 beta next week. So I want to thank you again, Sergios. That was a wonderful demonstration. Really excited to see what comes of this, and excited to use it once it becomes part of MuseScore 4. So next week we'll talk about the 3.5 beta. The week after that, Isaac will be with us and talk about his project to do with multi-measure rests and multi-measure repeats. So again, thank you so much for being with us. This was really fun and informative.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So everyone, I will see you all next week, and goodbye until then.
Goodbye.
I gotta find my hang up button.